you ran the application explorer and you got the class creation, right? And your base application is ready, right?
I think most of them created that.
Okay, so Santosh, share your screen.
Okay. Hello.
Yeah.
Karthik.
Yes.
Yeah, I will share my screen, Satish.
Satish, 1 second. Yeah, provided option. Okay. Can you go to cases?
Okay.
So you have created 3. Where is your onboarding?
Yeah, actually, I think that onboarding is a base case type, right? So I didn't create those. Only I created these 3 yesterday.
So how you are going to initiate your onboarding?
Yeah, from background check only we can initiate our process.
Okay. So we have discussed that background is like one of the child, right?
Yes. Yesterday we discussed, but before itself I created this.
Okay.
Can we add now, right?
Can you add a case type? Yeah. Go to on top.
We can.
Yes, add. Enter the name. And go to advanced settings.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you can run it. Okay.
Okay.
So everyone got the idea about how we need to create our applications, right?
Yes, Karthik. Yes, Karthik.
So everybody is having your all there is 4 case types got created, right? One is like onboarding and background checks, admin, and then user provisioning. So these are the 4 cases which we are going to work. And today we will talk about the case management in Pega 7. Before we go for that, I have a question about how many of you understand the cover concept?
Cover concept.
Concept wise it is clear, Karthik. That means there will be a parent and child relationship. Only once the child got resolved, the parent is rightly coupled, unlike folder.
Okay, can you tell me, Santosh?
Yeah, cover is a tightly coupled where a parent work object will be having child work object. Unless
Okay.
all the child work objects are resolved, the parent will not be resolved. And at a time, different persons can work on the different child work objects parallelly.
Okay, so how this is a Pega provided functionality that child can be worked parallelly, or it's like any customized code?
Sorry, some disturbance going on.
Okay, so
Karthik.
You mentioned like we can work parallelly 2 childs, right?
Yes.
So is it Pega functionality, or is that we need to do some customization to implement this?
I'm not sure, Karthik.
Even I'm not sure.
Okay, So what you mentioned is correct. So Pega is like cover is like tightly coupled and it's like inherited from your work dash cover dash. So we already seen a few classes names, right? Work dash cover dash, work dash, assign dash, index dash, right? So work dash cover dash gives the option to have cover relationship. Okay. So let's take an example. This is like your parent one, it's like cover, and child 1, child 2, child 3. So all are like same work types. That is, it's related to the same classes, same groups. Okay. So it's not different. So folder is different, but cover is like a same types.
Okay. You mean to say that parent and the child belong to same work class?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So when you mention, so you mentioned like we can work parallelly on two childs, right? This is not Pega provided functionality. In 6.2, if you are locking your child object, it locks your cover object also.
Okay.
So if you want to work together, that is, yeah, come again.
So it means that if we work on one child work object, we cannot work on other child work object.
Yeah, that was in 6.2 version. What I'm talking right now, to make sure to understand the covers. Okay.
Okay.
So let me show you the. The one which you are seeing is the Pega 7 version. Like, so what happens in Pega 6 version? When you are working on the child contains cover ID, right?
Yes.
So what happens if cover ID present? It locks your parent. So whenever you are working on the parent child 1, your parent is also locked.
Okay.
So you can't work on the child 2. So if you want to make sure that you want to work parallelly two different childs, in Pega 6 version, determine lock string there is an activity, then you have to modify on the activity to hold only your child object lock. So any questions on the locking about your parent and child?
Speak.
Hello.
No, Karthik.
Karthik, how to update that property so that it locks only the child work object?
There is a property called PX lock handle. There is a property called PX lock handle in your work page, right? So
yes.
That page tells which object you are locking. That property tells which property you are locking.
Okay.
So you have to lock your current work object, not your parent work object.
Yes.
So you guys are working on the 6.2 version right now, and then I want to make sure that you understand first 6.2 and come to 7 version.
Okay.
Okay. By default, when you are locking your child, it locks your parent.
By default. Okay.
By default, if you want to make change to work parallelly, then you have to go to the activity called determine lock string, and there is an expression present in case if it is cover and is keep present. then you should lock your cover object, or else you should lock your child object.
Karthik, this is Naveen. In Pega 7, how it works?
Well, I'll tell you on that.
Okay.
So the case types rule will help you to have cover relationship, and you can have nested of covers. Okay, it enables you to have cover relationships. So it's not like only one cover and other covered. You can have two cover under that one more cover object.
You meant to say multiple parent and multiple child relationship?
Yes.
Okay.
So parent and then child, you can enable like nested of covers work types.
Okay.
So you all know about that if you're working on the cover, then you should know about few properties, which is understand about how many cover object is open, how many cover object present, and what is the cover NS keys, right?
Yeah, got it.
So the PX covered count, which tells you about how many covered object present in your cover. And then covered count open, it tells you about how many covered object is still open in your the parent child relationship. And then covered NS key.
Open status.
Yes.
Means not resolved, Karthik. Open.
Unresolved one, yes. Yeah, unresolved one, yes.
The first one will give the total count, and the second one will give only the unresolved count.
Yes. And the third one is like will be present in your parent, that is cover object. It's a very list property which tells about what are the covered object present in your parent.
Okay.
So have you seen any time all these properties in your clipboard?
No, Karthik.
Okay.
Yeah, Karthik.
Hello? Your voice is breaking. Another? Hello?
Dynasty means it will hold, it's a value list which holds the major dynasties of chains, right?
Yes, correct.
Open means which are not resolved. The number of child objects which are not resolved, which are there in parent. That's what.
Correct.
Correct, right?
Yeah. So, and then anyone heard about the all covered resolved ticket?
No, Karthik.
So you have mentioned like all child object got resolved, and then only the parent gets resolved, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Hello?
Karthik. Once all the child objects got resolved, parent should get resolved.
That is called like all covered resolved ticket. We have one, and then it resolves your parent also.
Yeah.
Okay. So you need to understand these are the key. No, it's a ticket. It's not an agent.
Okay.
Okay. So these are the basics of the covered concept which you have to be understand. Because like we are widely using this thing in your Pega 7.
Okay, sir.
Any questions so far?
No, Karthik.
No.
Okay. So Pega 7 they changed case management to case lifecycle management, right? So they mention as a case lifecycle management. It tells you about where your work object resides and what is the process has been completed. Hello?
Yeah, Karthik.
Yeah, it gives you a solid structure of your case management, and it's not that you have to perform sequentially. There is order may change depends upon your work type. There is cases. and then it integrates it with other works also. Okay, so you can collaborate all your business process together in a case type, and then you can perform the way you want. You can call the steps the way you want. Okay, so it gives you more efficiency and like more consistency, and it also shows the visibility where the case resides also. When you are working on the case manager portal or any user is performing, it tells you where exactly you are. You can take an example. We mentioned about onboarding, and then under that background checks, right? Take an example, background checks having 3 checks like educational qualifications, personal information, and legal and immigration. You define these as steps in your case types. So if first you complete your educational qualification, then it goes to personal, right? So it shows where exactly you are now, and what are the process has been completed, and what is the process we have to be performed.
Is something like where am I feature, right?
That is for developer, right? So this will help you to tell where exactly you are, which process you are now. Okay, so you guys have seen your case types from your case designer portal, right?
Yes, sir.
So this is what case types, right? So if you open my onboarding, it has different stages. Okay, so now I have grouped the background verification asset below of onboarding. Have you seen this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Means background verification is a subcase of onboarding now.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll tell you how to configure that by asking someone to present, and then I'll ask you to update it, and I'll show you how you want to make changes on it.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. So these are the terminologies we need to understand for case lifecycle management. First is like a case, and this is like a one of case. You already knows about what is a case, right? This is the top level cases, which contains the other subcases and processes and all other works you are going to do performing on that. And then case types is like one of the process we need to mention, and you have to configure and how it has to perform and what are the coverable work types. And then dependent. Anyone talking? Satish?
No, Karthik. No, Karthik.
Okay. So we need to talk about, sorry, the dependency is like you want to initiate your case, that is subcase when the parent got initiated, or when you want to initiate your child cases. Okay. So I will talk about more on the dependency while going forward. And stage is like which is present in the case types, and there are multiple stages in your case types, and each stage contains steps. Each stage contains multiple steps. Okay, and a subcase is like your child object. You can create your subcases whenever you want to create. So these are the terminologies which we need to understand while going forward for the Pega 7 case lifecycle management. And I will tell you more on stages, steps, dependency going forward. Okay.
Okay, Karthik.
So we already discussed about case types. It's a init from the work dash cover dash, and it can be covered other case types also. Okay. So I will make you someone to present, and or I will share my screen. This is my case types rule.
Okay.
So under that, I have mentioned the coverable work types.
Okay.
The coverable work type is nothing but my background verification, and the one which I created was asset.
Okay, got it.
So once I
Yeah, coverable work types means we'll be able to create the chills for that. That's what its meaning is, right?
yes,
Okay.
this is my onboarding, right? Onboarding is my parent.
Okay.
Under that, these are my coverable objects.
Means in that case here in onboarding might be the parent case. So in that we'll be able to create the chills for background verification as well as assets.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
So take an example. In case if I have two background verification process parallelly running, not one, then I initiate both together in the child objects, right? So
Yeah,
these are my coverable work types. For you, first is like onboarding is your parent, and then background verification, admin services, and user provisioning are the coverable work types. Because like onboarding, which user enters most of the inputs, and then it goes to background verification. Once background verification completes, you have to go for your assets, right? That is admin services. And parallelly with your user provisioning. So
Okay.
these are the process which we discussed yesterday, right? So how, what is the parent and child relationship, and what are your work types covering?
Okay.
So make the changes like this, and then you see the way the representing of the case types will be changing.
Coverable.
Next is like we ought to talk about the dependency. So dependency, there is two types. One is like a initialization dependency, and then one is like a mid-process dependency. Okay. So if you want to initiate your subcase when your parent gets called, it's like we call it as automatic initialization. And if you are having, if you have some conditions like whether your parent reaches to this condition and then initiate by manually, then it's called like manual initialization. So this is called initialization dependency, where we need to set it here. Open this your coverable work types. You have option of manual and automatic. So if select automatic, it mentioned like upon parent create or else dependency fulfillment.
Hey Karthik, what is the difference
The
between
manual is like,
those two? I have a question, Karthik. Here. When we check that automatic
yeah,
initiation checkbox, there will be two radio buttons, right? So may I know the difference between those two radio buttons?
this
Upon
one.
parent case starts, yep, these two, dependency fulfillment as well as parent case. So these two.
So this one is like when you reach some conditions.
Okay.
When
So where
when
will
the
we
case,
give that condition here?
So when you have your parent-child relationship, so this is your child object background verification.
Yes. Okay.
You will have an option of getting installation.
Okay.
Edit over here. When the parent case starts.
Okay.
Or dependency fulfillment.
Dependency fulfillment means I did not get exactly. So parent.
Take an example. This is my onboarding work object. As went to pending approval.
Okay.
Or approved. Take an example. Resolve completed. Once it's resolve completed, I want to initiate. I can choose this. Okay. These are my dependency conditions.
Means if that condition is true, then only the child is going to be created. Otherwise, it will not create child, right?
It will not create child.
Okay, perfect. So instead of that, we can go for when the parent we can give a condition here, right? You see, on the above radio button, the parent start case is radio button is there. So here we can give the condition, right? Instead of that, here we can give the condition like where previous status work equals resolve completed, something like that. So both are same, right? In that case.
Both are not same, because when the parent case starts, you want to check some condition and then create the case, but it doesn't mean that it is going to create the case when a particular parent reaches a particular status, right? Say for example, you have two different scenarios. When the parent case is getting created, okay, at the start, right, when you're just creating the parent case, you also want to create a child case as well. That's when you choose this option, okay? And when you're trying to create a child case, when the parent case starts, you want to evaluate some condition, right? So whether this particular value is this much or this particular value is this much, that's what it is. But if the parent case reaches a particular status, right? Your parent case gets created today, but tomorrow it goes to a pending, approval. That's when you want to create a child case. That's when you choose the second one. So there are two different places, right? One is at the parent case starts, right? When the parent case starts, you want to create a child case, but you want to check some condition before you create the child case. Okay, but doesn't mean that if you're giving a condition like only when the status is resolved completed or only when the status is pending approval, here the case will not at all be created. Child case will not at all be created, because it is only when the parent case starts, it will try to create a child case, and before creating the child case, it will try to evaluate some condition. But after the parent case has started, this particular condition will not at all be evaluated. So if say for example, you are going into pending approval after 2 steps after parent case creation, then this condition will not evaluate. So that's when you need to use the second option, wherever be the parent case, right? Doesn't matter whether when a parent case reaches a particular status, create the case, right? Or you want to have some more conditions, right? Okay. You can have multiple conditions. So it's here the condition is you based upon what is the status the other object reaches, right? It's not only the parent case, it can also be your sibling, right? When I say sibling, if you see here, the both background verification and assets are siblings, right? You can also create a case, onboarding case when asset case reaches some point. So the dependency here is when to create a case. When a parent case is getting created at the moment you want to create the child case, or when the parent case reaches a certain status, or a particular sibling reaches a certain status, that's when you want to create a case. That's when you have to use the second option. You see the difference?
Yes.
Great.
And one more.
There are other ways also. Yeah, go ahead.
So in the second option, to a particular status, our parent case may reaches 2 times. They assume that open status. A work object may reaches to open status 2 times in my entire workflow. So in that case, will it create 2 childs?
That's a good question. We need to check that out. Okay. Let's check it out once we are doing this exercise. Okay. Let's try to do that and see how it works. But to be frank, I haven't tried that out, but we can try that out.
Right, okay, go ahead, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that is your automatic and manual installation of your child cases. Okay, it's not only about whenever your parent case starts, you want to start your child, or whenever the other condition got satisfied, you can initiate your child cases. So, as you have seen, these are the basic steps got created. That is, 3 steps got created in your applications, right? Whenever you open your case types, you see list of stages and processes, right?
Yeah.
Let me open mine. So this is what I got. I can rename it. Like, take an example. Okay, so I can enter a number of steps. So what you are seeing on the top is like stage 1, 2, 3, right? These are like stages. You can configure your stage name also. Take an example. So I can name it that is initial details as my stage 1. So I can skip my stage when this condition got satisfied, and then I can mention my stage as SLA. So I can have my SLA to be running for a stage, and then there is like option whether it's like a resolution stage or not. When I choose this resolution stage, see how it looks like. It shows red color, right? So it mentioned like this step is like a resolution step. I'm setting no, and then this is the condition like when all the process are completed, stay in the current stage or transition to the next stage. So if all the steps on the current stage is complete, then what you want to go to next stage or not. So that is what the condition over here. Also, you can provide your entry validation whether you can check whether the case has reached these stages or case have these conditions to be go for next stage. Okay. So any questions?
Karthik?
Yeah.
What does that resolution stage mean?
Take an example, if you are completing your work object with the resolve completed or something.
Okay.
So if you want to mention like your work object is getting completed over that, then you can mention this is a resolution stage.
Okay.
So if you want to delete a stage, you can delete over here. If you want to add any steps over here, like you want to skip this stage not to be run, you can mention over here. and then I will go to the step behavior. Okay. So till now, what you've seen is like a stage. Now what you are going to see is like a step. So I have to mention my step is like a single step assignment or multi-step assignment. So I say single step assignment. I'm going to mention for my single step assignment what is my action. You see here, right? This is my single assignment step. This is like a user input, and then my action got created.
Okay.
Along with the sections. And the property I entered.
Okay, got it. Okay.
So this is for single step assignment. Okay. You see here, right? I have mentioned about your stages like this is my initial stage, and this is like stage 2, and this is like stage 3. So it shows to the user where exactly we are.
Okay.
So that's why like case lifecycle management. So user sees where exactly and what are the details has been completed and what yet to be complete.
So what we are seeing now is stage-based case and lifecycle management, right? That's what we are looking at. So when you started creating the stages, you are able to create from a stage. You are able to create a step, which step in turn creates a flow. It creates it is within this designer itself. You are able to create a flow action section and as well as flow, right? And if it's a single step or multi-step, you can mention those things. So what it does is it gives you a quick way to model your whole process. Okay, it is not going to complete all the functionality for you, but this is a quick place where somebody like a process architect or a business architect, a lead BA can quickly create the whole process and show a prototype, right? So right now we haven't done anything. We just created one step and then added a step which says step to add some inputs, and it automatically user input. It automatically created a flow step and flow action and section, which which predominantly was created by a system architect earlier, but now business architect can also create by just entering some forms and details, right? So one more thing which stage eliminates, right? So you guys would have done multiple flows and all those things, right? One thing which stage eliminates is the need for orchestration. Okay, so in 6.2 or prior versions, right? In 6.x prior versions before 7, what we used to do is we'll have a main flow or a starter flow from where we'll be going on and following a particular path, right? You're going to and it is going to be orchestrated about one big orchestration flow, which is going to call subsequent flows, right? From a flow A, starter flow, you'll be calling a flow B, which is a subflow, internal, which will call a flow. So that is the way to orchestrate through different processes, right? And every time if you want to make some condition, you will add a symbol saying that check you check a condition and then decide whether to go to that subflow or not and all those things, right? So you used a flow rule itself to orchestrate the overall process. Now with Pega 7, what they have done is they have taken that out and then they added a stage options with which you can orchestrate through the whole process, right? Still you can call a subflow from a flow, but you don't need to do it to orchestrate your whole process. Okay, so that's what we need to keep in mind. The stage is giving you an extra benefit, and also for each and every step. For example, in order to go, whether you decide to go to a particular stage or not, right? You have multiple things you can do. Either you want to skip a stage with a when condition, you want to add an optional process, you want to set an SLA only for that particular stage. You had these features earlier, right? So you didn't have a feature to set a SLA by out of the box to a particular sequence of steps, right? Say for example, your process is having 3 major processes like underwriting or and then validation and some processes, where there are multiple assignments in the same flow or a particular stage, right? In a flow, you have called multiple subflows, and within that flow, you want to, as soon as the case enters that flow till it ends, you want to have an SLA. For that, you need to do something manually, very manually earlier, right? You need to create your own assignment, you need to set your overall SLA, all those things. Now you don't have to do this. The stage-based configuration kind of comes in handy. It keeps tracks of when the stage enters, it triggers the SLA, and when the stage is exited, it kind of closes the SLA. Within that, if the case exists in the stage and SLA reaches its pass time and deadline, it takes the action. So there are many things which is kind of inbuilt or kind of configurable in 7, which was actually something we need to orchestrate using our manual activities or processes, right? So earlier we used to, right, these features SLA was already available, but there is no option to trigger an SLA when you reach a particular stage. Right now you have the option. So these are the things, right? The stage is not only orchestrating your process, it is also helps you to configure a lot of details which you want to govern on a process. Okay, so what we would suggest is we would advise you guys to take a close look on stages, right? What are all the features you would have done other way, right? For example, if I want to skip a particular flow, a subflow, right? How would I done it in 6.x and how it is different in 7, right? So what we want you guys is to kind of look into these options which is available in your stages, right? For configure stage behavior, what each of these things means and how you can use it to your design, right? That is the thought process. That's the change in thought process which we need to incur into us. Say for example, concurrently validation. So validation, it will call a validate, right? So basically, what you will do normally if you want to validate before you reach something, right? Validate something and then give some error messages. Say for example, you completed approval. You're going to go to stage 2, right? You want to make sure that all the things are complete when you go to the stage. Right. So what we normally do, you would have given the post action of the flow action, right? That's the only place where you would have given the validate rule. But now it is kind of changed. You can still give that call a validate rule on the flow action, but you can also have a particular validation coming on the stage, because how it is different. Say for example, you have a process where you can jump from stage 1 to stage 2, or you can come back from stage 3 to stage 2. Right, but irrespective of whenever you come to stage 2, you want to have some set of validations happening. So in that case, giving this validation rule on a flow action on a previous step, right, is not going to be sufficient, right? Because that only when you come to the stage 2 from approval, that validation will be firing. But if you want to have these validations completely happening anytime you come to the stage 2, right? Because the stages is something by default it goes by sequence, but you can also alter the flow of the stages. You can go from stage 3 to stage 2, come back to stage 2, or from stage 2 you can go to stage 4. But anytime you go to stage 4 or stage 3, you want to have a validation before anything starts on the stage, you can configure this. So there are a lot of options which is given to configure, with which we need to change our mindset how we are going to configure and work on it, right? So our design has to change, right? Or you have to keep these things in the design. When you're trying to validate something, okay, how will I validate before I enter the stage? Will I put an utility and call a validate rule, an activity to call a validate rule on entry of that flow, or would I call a validate rule on the flow action, post validate action, or on a validate or the flow action, or would I call it on the stage entry validation? So that is the detail I need to keep in mind before I enter that. So when will I keep the entry validation? Only when I need to have the validation anytime the stage comes in, right? So these are the things which you need to keep in mind. And there are a lot of other options even with the configure step behavior. You have multiple options available, right? So you can set an SLA, you can upon stage entry, all these things. I'll just give you one quick thing, okay? If there is an option, just a quick question. When you want to, for example, after entering the initial details, right? Say for example, I want to spawn a parallel assignment. Okay, I want to have 2 assignments into 2 different users. One is to HR department, another one is to admin department. Just theoretically, right? Just to validate some inputs which they have entered. Okay, so how will I do it in my flow? How will I do it in my flow? If I have to spawn 2 parallel assignments.
Split join, right?
Split join. What are the other options?
One is spin-off we have to do the parallel.
Okay. So what it narrowed down is, yes, there is you have a spin-off and split join. You have to choose between those, right? So what it narrows down is you need to configure that in a particular flow, right? You need to have that shape in the particular flow. But here, what I can do is I can add 2 steps into a stage, and then each step represents a flow, right? You guys got that, right? So for example, user input is a flow, user approval is a flow. I can make on this stage entry both the flows, have a parallel assignment. Create an assignment. First step in each flow will be triggered as a parallel assignment without even adding a spin-off. Okay, I'll leave it to you guys how to figure it out, how to get that, how to make that happen. Okay, just keep it in the background of the mind. Head and try it out. See how you can, without adding a spin-off, by just entering on a stage, how can I have 2 assignments parallelly created in 2 different flows? Okay, there is an option to configure. Okay, so that's something which I want you guys to keep in mind. Try it out, out of this session. Okay, but the bottom line is there are a lot of configure options with respect to stage and steps, which normally we used to do it inside a flow. Now it is taken outside the flow and kept it at the case rule level. Okay, so in the case, if you open the case rule key by default, you will have a tab called stages, and that's where all these things are being configured. But I will not advise anybody to directly open the case rule and then modify. I will always recommend you guys to use the case designer, because case designer gives you much more easier way, and also the case rule is a little bit clumsy, right? It has a lot of options. You really get confused when you directly go and update case rule. So I would always advise you to use the case designer to update the case rule. But the bottom line is the case rule takes away a lot of configuration which you used to do in the flow wise, and the flow is now only to a specific task to be completed or a specific set of tasks to be completed. But still, all the options you had in the flow still exist. Okay, you have the spin-off, split join, everything, the decision shapes, everything is still existing. But it is the only, it just makes much more clarity if you bring it up one level rather than on the flow to the case level, because the case level rule is going to orchestrate the overall process. Okay.
So you can easily understand your processes over in case rule. So if I give you a flow shape, that is, and then I have the entire business process on the flow, you're not able to understand easily, right? So, but if you open your case type rule and if you see it, you'll easily identify what are the steps we have and what are the process we have. So that is an easy way to understand using case type. So whatever the configuration you are doing, you can make it over here. And then you can reuse, in case if you have the flow rule you want to reuse in different across the place, you can keep it in what I already said. So we have option called alternate stage also. that you can add it over here. Whenever you have any exception, you can route it to alternate stage, or whenever you are seeing that it's a common functionality, you can keep it in a single place and you can run it. So this is your alternate stage, like we call it as a primary and alternate stage. Whatever you see in the top is like primary, and the one which you see is in the orange is like alternate stage.
Okay.
And alternate stage is something it is not going to, by default, it is not going to go there. So you need to manually push a case to alternate stage, and after you reaching the alternate stage, you need to bring it back to the normal stage. So you need to do something manual. Manual instance, you need to call some, flow action which can change the stage, or you can call a activity which can change the state after the all the steps in the alternate stage has been completed. So basically the transition between the normal process and the alternate stage is different, right? So the normal process follows this sequence, okay? After initial stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and from stage 3, if you find some exception on this step or something, you can have there is an out of box flow action as well as an activity which you can use utility shape, which you can add to change the stage to this and then bring it back to here. Okay, so there are options like that available, but they want to have a clear differentiation, right? The alternate stage is something you can only push the case manually or by configuring, but normal the stages will flow as you configure in the stage process, stages and processes.
So any questions till now, guys, like about stages and steps?
Karthik, I have a doubt regarding this cover objects actually. Can we create a covered object of same class on which we create the cover object?
Come one more time.
We have created cover object on one class, and we want to include the covered objects of same class. Can we create?
Can you share your screen?
No, I mean I tried. In other system, not here.
Okay, so what you're asking is you want to have a parent-child relationship, but you want to have the same class. Like
your value is very less.
Onboarding, you want to be the onboarding as a child class as well as onboarding as a.
Karthik, we are not able to hear you.
We are not able to hear you actually.
I'm sorry, I was just moving away when I'm talking. So what you're saying is you want to have a onboarding as a parent class as well as onboarding as a child class. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Yes, Karthik.
What is the scenario you would require like that? I understand this is just a question, but is there any specific scenario you have in mind for that?
Yeah, I mean I got one situation. I approached via in activities, but can we done it through case type rules?
What is the situation you're looking at? I just want to get the scenario so that I can see if that is the best way to do it, or is a different way? There's a different way to do it.
Situation like when I faced it. I mean, is it possible? This is my question actually.
See, possible? Yes, it is possible. If you see my screen now, I have done that. Okay. It's not giving me any error. Okay, see here.
So seeing my screen.
Are you seeing?
While executing, I think. Okay.
See, you need to remember one thing. The case rule is not executing anything by itself, right? So if you're trying to add a class as child case, see, you should not mix the class parent-child relationship of the class and parent-child relationship of the case. It's a two different thing. Okay, you can initiate any case from a parent case. It can be its own case, but you're just creating a child and parent relationship. You are not tying up the class. Class is for getting the rule resolution and the flows and everything working, right? But the parent-child relationship of the case initiation is not related to the class type. Earlier in 6.2, there was some restrictions where you cannot do certain things, but those things has been removed in 7. Okay, but I would strongly question the need for doing it. Okay, so if you can give me an example why you need that, right? That will be then we can debate on whether that is right design or not, but technically it is possible. It's not going to stop you from creating a case, child case.
Okay.
So you have any scenario faced in your previous project or anywhere?
Karthik, I have a
Karthik?
question here.
Yeah, a little bit louder. Okay, another.
Yeah, my question here is, I would like to go back to the previous primary stage. Say, we have 5 stages. I would like to go back to the second stage from 5th stage. So, is that possible?
Yeah, we have
And even
all
the resolution stage means what?
What is it? Come again? What is your question?
Yeah, I have 5 stages.
Resolution stage.
Okay.
So, from 5th stage.
Can you please explain that?
Okay, I have 2 questions now. One of you is asking about resolution stage. The other person is asking about something between stage transition. So I'll take the stage transition question first, and then we'll come to the resolution stage. Okay. So what was the stage transition question?
My question is, right now I'm in 5th stage. I would like to move to the second stage. So,
okay.
Yeah, by using alternative stages, we can do that. Is there any other way other than this?
See, no, from initial stages you want to go to stage 2, right?
Correct. From 5.
You don't have to do anything. If you just complete the approval step, right? You just submit on a final assignment on the approval step, it will automatically go to stage 2.
No. See,
okay.
You see over here, right? When all stages are completed, then you do the stage.
Okay.
So this is the by default option which it jumps from stage 1 to stage 2 once all the stages have been completed in stage 1.
That is fine. That's fine. It will go to second stage from stage 1. Once it gets completed, that is fine.
Okay.
One of the scenario, say we may have some requirement like from stage 5 to stage 2. Say here in our case type rule, if you want to move from stage 3 to stage 2, is it possible to move?
It's possible, but I will not tell you how to do it. That's part of your exercise. We will do that. Okay, so I want you guys to do that.
Okay, like by specifying that in alternative stages, we can do that. That is one way, or we can do.
That's wrong.
Is it okay?
That's wrong. So let's, you have the system in hand. Okay. I want you guys to try that out. So I have already told the answer. Okay. I already told the answer in the previous discussion when we talk about different stages and alternate stage. I told you the answer, how to jump between stages. Okay. So I'll leave you guys to try that out. There is an option for that.
Okay.
Change stage.
Okay.
Yeah, right. So change stage. That's it.
Yeah.
Change stage doesn't differentiate between going to alternate stage or normal stage. You can use the same state, same flow action or a same shape. If it is smart shape, there is something called smart shape.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine. That's okay. Yeah. Fine.
And then also, right, there is one more caveat to that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When you change a stage, right, and which step you want to start from the stage. For example, from stage 5 to jumping to stage 1 again. Do you want to start from user input or do you want to start from approval? Right? Mm-hmm. That is also configurable. Okay. So those are the things which we are going to try out as part of the exercises. Okay. But first now we will go through the stage, right? What I would recommend is first put together a first sequence, right? First normal sequence. First try out your hands on configuring all the stages for the case study which we are given. Okay. And then let's go to the other exception paths. Let's first work out the happy path, right? So how you go for stages and how you add conditions to when you're reaching the stage and how you're going to add validation. So first get your hands comfortable with Case Designer, and then the next step is we are going to try out different exception paths. How you go from one stage to another stage, how you go from if you go from a stage 1 to stage 3 or stage 1 to stage 4, how can you come back to your the stage from which you jump to the previous stage, right? We say that there is an option to come back to a stage where you started, or you want to come from alternate stage. Say for example, from stage 1 you can jump to alternate stage. From stage 2 you can jump to alternate stage. How can you come back from alternate stage? How can you go back to the same stage where you came from, right? Those are the things which you want to try out in the these exercises. Okay.
Okay.
So you guys got what this case designer, how in background the case designer updates the case flow, right? See, case designer is just a UI which helps you to model the process, and it has two steps, which is stages and process and details. Okay, and you also have case rule which actually gets updated by the case designer. So these are the high level things. So what we want you guys to do now is take your process, okay? Take your process and try to model your process, onboarding process, background verification, assets, right? All these things into a case designer, okay? Can you guys try that out? Hello?
Okay.
Okay, Karthik.
Yeah. See, first thing is first we need to get comfortable with case designer, and then you guys have to understand what all in the background happens by yourself, by doing it, and then we can go one step deeper. Okay. I hope most of you guys is the first time you guys are working on the case designer, right? So for the benefit of the group, few folks would have already tried your hands on it, but I'd allow others also to try that and then get comfortable, because yesterday you guys was not able to get into the case explorer at all.
I think this in case type rule we have other processes, no? So I mean, can you?
Which one you're talking about?
In case type, other processes we come in the bottom, I think. Case type rule, other process.
You're talking about
other processes. Yeah, this where we can use of this.
See, optional processes are nothing but kind of supporting processes. Okay, so if you go here in the stages, right? So other processes, automatically launch processes. There are multiple other processes which you can configure. Okay, so basically it's going to evaluate a condition, and then you can start those processes as well. So let's not go there at this point. Okay, we have a separate sessions around how we are going to go about configuring other processes and optional processes and how about alternate stages. There's a separate topic which you're going to discuss, because see, one thing is we need to follow sequence of the way the course has been designed, right? So we need to go through first, get ourselves comfortable with other things, and then go into one level deeper. So definitely we are going to touch on that. Okay.
If you say you're working on one day, like it will be more confusing for you. So we want to go by topic, and then I'll make you to understand, and then go next further.
Okay. So hold on to your questions. Okay. So whatever questions you guys have, so I would recommend you guys to first get yourself comfortable with case designer, and then because you're going to spend almost a week on this case management process. Okay. Because this is a very key change in Pega 7, and anybody who's going to design stuff in Pega 7 going forward has to know all the options. So now let's take one at a time. Okay.
Okay.
So others are like common from Pega 6 to Pega 7, and this is like one of the major changes which you see, right? In the first class we talked about case management, right? Case lifecycle management. So focus on what the steps and stages first, and then we go one by one. So you guys are seeing your case types, right? And then can you configure like this, and then can you make changes?
Karthik, first we want to make the child work object and parent work object, right?
Yeah. Okay. Open. That's why I mentioned, like, open your onboarding case type.
Yes.
Click here. Open. You see here, right? Cover work types.
Yeah.
So make the changes and see whether it's reflecting or not.
Karthik, I'm not getting all this.
So who is talking? Santosh? Voice is low, Santosh.
Sorry, I'm not getting all those 5 options. I'm getting the stages and process. Those 3 tabs.
1 second.
The tabs which you shown earlier.
Santosh, right? Share your screen, Santosh.
Yeah, I clicked on onboarding open.
1 second. I'm making as a presenter.
Karthik, you're able to see my screen, right?
No.
One minute, sorry. Now? Okay.
Yeah.
I clicked on
yeah.
open.
No, click on that icon like the drop. Not yeah. Open. Yeah. Click open. So add over here.
Background check రావట్లేదు ఇక్కడ.
So everyone is able to see your case types on Data Explorer, right? So anyone having issue with access, loggings?
No, Karthik.
So all are good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Karthik.
So first, can you focus on your onboarding stages? So that by seeing this, it's very difficult to make you understand. Close this. Close this screen. Yeah. Go with the case designer, okay? Go to the left side navigation and then refresh. Refresh.
This is the one, Karthik.
1 second.
Karthik?
Yeah.
This is the one you're talking.
Good now, Santosh?
Yes. Yeah.
So this is your parent. So you have configured everyone is seeing screen, right? So this is like onboarding is we talked yesterday like is your parent, and then below we have background, and then admin and user provisioning. So you can able to configure when it has to get called, right? Your background when it has to get called.
Yes.
So if you say when you are completing that is when your parent reaches some status you want to initiate, so configure your background verification child object, and then same way because background verification is the first, right? So what happens to your admin services when admin services has to start and when user provisioning has to start? Hello?
Yeah, once the background work object is resolved, then admin services and user provisioning can initiate.
Okay, so you got it right. So when it has to start, and is it possible to configure on this now?
Yes.
Use a default status which Pega provides right now, and then try to do it configuration, and then once you configure how it has to be initiated, we'll go to what is the stages like steps and onboarding.
First, we have to create onboarding work object, right? No.
Come again, Santosh?
First, I think we should create the parent work object, right? Not necessarily.
No, that is not needed here. Okay, it will cover, no issues.
Okay.
ఏం పెడదాం చూస్తున్నా.
So what are you trying, Santosh?
Actually, I want to add the dependent.
So go to child object. Go to child object.
Okay.
Child case type. Now you can see over here, right? No, choose like a status. Choose with the status option. Yes, drop down. Yes, work status. Mention the status of the work. You can leave it over here and then you can do it in the child object directly, Santosh. Because this is a little confusing, right?
So once the BGC work object has been resolved completed, both the other child work objects, admin services and user provisioning will be created.
Yes, correct.
And those can be worked parallelly, right?
Because these are two different cases, right? Different case type. It's not a single case type. It's a different case types, and which is goes to different stage, not the same thing. So now we are initiating two child object. Now not initiating two parallel assignment on a single work object. That is different concept.
Yes, I'm telling two child work objects will be created and two child work objects can be instantiated, can be worked by two different users parallelly.
Yes,
because
correct.
you told 6.2 Pega does not allow to work parallelly, right?
Yeah.
Child work objects.
Okay. Let me talk about that on locking. Okay. So now everyone has configured about your parent-child relationship and how the initiation should happen, right?
Yes, correct.
So any questions till now? Anyone have any issues like you're not able to configure or?
No, Karthik.
This is what you need to get it. What is like what? The shape represent means what? Like this is like a primary, and when you see with the lines of red, it's like a resolution, and the below one is like alternate, and what is the manual and automatic transitions, and step with the parallel processing. So this this is like picturization shows about what is what actually. So now you people are seeing like all automatic transition, right, one by one. We didn't see any manual transition till now.
Yeah.
So we have a locking option. Let me share. You see a locking, right?
Yeah.
There are two kind of locking. One is like default locking, one is optimist locking. The default locking is like it's normal standard locking timeout when you are opening a work object and you are locking it, like others cannot work on the object. This is like a standard locking behavior which Pega provides. And what is optimist locking is like both the people can open the work object, but who is going to submit first, that is going to proceed to the case, and next person will get the alert that there is a person has made an update on the case with the option called refresh.
Okay.
There are two people are working parallelly. Take an example, two people are working parallelly, but both of them have not yet submitted anything. Is who is submitting first, the second people will get the alert that first people has submitted with the option called refresh. So this is the difference between the default locking and optimist locking. Take an example. You are seeing here, first one which I open is my like parent. This is my parent, okay. So parent, I have only option called default or optimist locking. You're seeing my screen, right?
Yes,
Yes,
Karthik.
Karthik.
So now I'm opening my child object. It's child case type. It shows do not lock the parent when child is performing, right?
Okay.
So that means like your child can work parallelly. If you choose this option, your child can work parallelly.
Okay.
So this is a locking option like what Pega 7 provides like extra option like optimist locking, that both the user can work parallelly, but other people will get the option like first one has updated already, so you have to refresh it. So can you configure your locking also option also together with the case type what you modified right now?
Okay.
Okay.
Karthik,
Hello, yeah.
for the BGC child work object, I am getting the optimist locking.
Durga is talking.
Inherited.
No, Karthik. Santosh is speaking.
Santosh. Okay. What is the error you are getting?
Not error. Actually, for the first work object which gets instantiated once the parent work object gets created, right? For that, locking mode is inherited from parent case.
Yeah.
It's just not getting the checkbox option like the other two.
Okay. Share your screen.
Means in the onboarding, if you select the optimistic locking in the child covered objects, he is getting like this locking mode inherited from the parent class.
Already optimized,
We
right?
can't change it.
So there is no locking will be happening. This is not a default locking. So default locking only you have to provide like whether you want to have parent to lock or not. This is like optimized locking. Who is working on the first? They will submit the case and next will get the alert. The same will be applicable to the child object also. So you chose optimized locking, right, parent? The same is applicable for your child also. So when you are working on the child, other people also work parallelly. That is called optimized is like working parallelly, but only one can update at a time, right?
Okay, Karthik. Yeah.
So it's applicable for all your parent and child relationship.
But for other child, I'm getting example if service.
Optimized locking, right? Same. It's all applies to a child also.
Okay. So only if I select the default locking in the parent, then only I will get the checkbox.
Checkbox, yes, correct. You want to lock your parent or not, that will be applicable in your child object.
Okay.
So now can you define your stages in onboarding? So you're creating your onboarding object, right? So what are the things you feel like it's required? What are the steps which involved?
First, the vendor management team will enter the contractor details.
Okay, so what is the step 1?
Enter contractor details.
Yeah, I want everyone has to participate because like this is like we are discussing about the scenario along with the we are working parallelly. So you collect the details about only contract, that is of the contractor, right? So choose like first name, last name, and when is the start date, and who is your the manager of the contractor, and what is the line of business he is going to work. You have to mention start date and end date also together. So by configuring this form detail, like you are not going to create any actions, like it automatically get created your flow action rule along with the sections, and then property got created and added to your screen, right? So going forward, what will happen? Developer will get less work on doing some other stuff other than creating the flows and other things. So there are few roles has been introduced in the Pega practice like business architect and lead business architect. So they are going to collect the requirement from the business directly and then they are going to input to the system. So for their point of view, it's like easy to configure, right? So and then they create the structure, the skeleton of your application, and then it's give it to the what is called giving to the developer, and it's pretty simple for them to give the requirement easily. And if you want to modify the stages, it's easy.
Okay, Karthik.
So first part is like what we are going to do, right? We are going to define the stages and steps in onboarding. So I want you to think about what are the steps which will be involving in the onboarding. So recreating again, Santosh?
No, Karthik, I don't know what's happening. It's not getting saved and
You got logged out?
not logged out, but it disappeared. That this form configuration got disappeared. Maybe I don't know. I clicked on cancel, I guess. So once the contractor details are entered and clicked on submit, it should instantiate the parent case.
Can you run this case type? Just run the case type.
Okay.
So instead of stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, can you define some names, Santosh, so it will be meaningful when you are creating? Not here. When you are in your case type, there is go to case type. Yeah. See, I'll tell the steps. Like first, you need to get the details about contractor, and then get the name of the supervisor, right? Name of the contractor supervisor, like or contractor reportee, and you have to send the approval to them.
Okay.
Once you have to select over here on drop down in the first screen contractor details, right? So think about you are the vendor management team right now. Okay, so what are the details you are expecting from the people to enter, right? You need the name and start date and end date, and you need to choose what is the LOB is going to work, line of business, and who is the approver, who is the client manager. Take an example, who is the client manager. First, you need to get the approval on this, and then second stage, you need to get the details about the educational, personal, and then your legal and immigration. So you can have an option like whether he is a local citizen or overseas citizen.
Karthik,
If it is a local citizen, hello?
Yeah, Karthik, that comes under BGC case, right?
No, BGC case will you are going to initiate from onboarding, right? So you get the details over here and you pass it to your BGC.
Okay. Okay.
So I will tell you how to pass it over to BGC. That's why I am telling first configure your stages in onboarding, and I will tell you how to send your PAN case details to child case. So you are collecting all the input on the onboarding, right? So you want to pass the information to your child case also, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I will tell you how to pass parent information to child. Right now, what I will say, keep your approver name as some operator ID. Okay. Hello, Santosh.
Yeah. Okay, Karthik.
Keep some approver name as operator ID, so it will be you can route it to the user, and then you can approve over here and come back and do the next processing.
Okay.
It's slow.
Yeah, it is somewhat slow.
So you don't feeling the slowness, or it's okay.
Yes. It's very slow, Karthik.
So only on running or during development also?
Running.
Okay. So now you got the idea about what is case type, right?
Yeah.
So any questions till now? Yeah, you can ask me and you can get clarified about how you need to set the dependency and how you need to set the locking option. We'll go one by one, and it will easy to you to understand what exactly you are defining, right? So you don't want to confuse in between what other things are doing. So first we'll focus on our onboarding. Once onboarding completes, then we go for BG, background verification, and then we go for admin and user provisioning together.
Okay. Okay, got it.
Can you open, Santosh, can you open your case manager portal? Go to the top.
1 minute.
On your launch option, open your launch. Click. Open your case manager portal. Full screen. How many work objects you created, Santosh, till now?
Only one.
Okay, so I think your stages is not. You are choosing admin service. Can you choose the stages? Case stages for option drop down onboarding. You see, right? Stage 1, there are one work object is present.
Yes, yes.
So by the way, you can provide the, that is what case lifecycle management, where exactly your work object resides for the users. When you are performing your task, you can see where exactly your work object is in and what is the process you have to perform. Also, you can see over in the case manager portal. So by the way that they can perform in case of approval is more pending, they can perform on it. Any questions till now about your stage configuration and step configuration and how to have the locking mechanism between parent and child and dependency creation?
No, Karthik.
No, Karthik.
Okay, so now your application is ready on with the case stage and your onboarding steps are ready, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Karthik.
Karthik.
Yeah, Santosh.
See, if here nationality form in the form configuration we have nationality right here.
Okay.
If it is US means, sorry, if it is other than US means I want some other options like passport validity, visa validity like that. Can we do that?
You can configure on the screen, Santosh. Like you can't do everything over here.
Okay.
Maybe we have to configure on the screen.
So once the section got created, that we have to edit that section, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
You use as a drop-down option, Santosh, like nationality. So
Drop down.
yeah.
Okay, not able to edit this. Karthik, I was not able to edit this one.
Can you delete that?
Sorry?
Delete the line.
Okay.
Second option, can you enter second option on set 3?
Okay.
You already created that one?
Yeah, I clicked on save.
Oh, okay. I think it's already created, so that's why. Go and see in your Explorer, App Explorer, and check whether it has been created. Yes. Yeah. Change it or delete it. Anything. So your task is like complete all your onboarding stages and what are the steps involved in it. Okay.
Okay.
So tomorrow we'll talk about how you are going to send the information from your parent to child and other case types options, other case type configurations, along with few new changes which is happening in the flow. I will walk through on it.
Okay.
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 So any questions? Let me know. So I will send you the mail on the PPTs and then I will give some document on it. Any specific question now, guys?
One question I have.
Yes, sure.
Not that technical, but in case we create a case types where we have not have the parent and child type of configuration done. Can we create it once the application is done or once the application is created?
Returning once application is ready, you want to make the configuration of parent-child relationship?
Yeah.
So you are telling about applications ready and it's deployed in production or before deploying production?
No, it's not deployed. What I mean is we followed this process. So yesterday I have actually clicked on create application. So I was trying to see if there is an option for me to edit or do this child and parent configuration.
So that's why we can keep it in your key.
So can you come one more time, Tesha? When you click on create application, so what exactly you were doing?
Yesterday I have created all this admin services, onboarding, and all that, and the cases type were created, and I submitted the application. So it means the application is ready.
Okay, you ran the application. You ran the application and then submitted. So everything got created. Okay, got it.
Yeah. now I want to, because I missed out on that part of the parent and child, I want to actually go back and edit. So I'm not able to do that. I didn't have an option of that.
Okay. Let me show that. So you have the Case Explorer, right?
Yeah.
So you have a Case Explorer. So when you click on the Case Explorer, what you're seeing?
Actually close that application and trying to create one more.
No, you don't have to create multiple applications. If you just open that application, log in, you should, by default, you should get that application.
Ashita, you want to share the screen?
One second. I need to actually I logged into a different system to do that.
Okay. Let me know when you are ready, Sisha, so I can explain you how to make the changes.
Sure, one.
Santosh, you are using cloud after working hours, correct?
Sorry, Karthik.
So you people are using after the session also you are using the cloud, right?
Yes.
Yeah, correct.
So no issues, right? Anywhere you go, you can access, right? There is no issues, right?
Yeah.
So in case if you see any issues, you are not able to log in, you can drop a mail. So if it is other than office hours, you just call me to my number. I think everyone have my number, right? Or else inform to Shesha, so I will make sure that the cloud is running or not.
I'll give them your number.
Okay. In case it's not working, don't hold on them. Please call me or Bhupati or anyone. So we'll make sure that the cloud is up and running.
Okay, Karthik.
Karthik, one question.
Yeah.
Yeah, is this case designer is available for migration projects? Migrating projects means 6.2 we have migrated to 7.1. Is this case designer will be available to those projects? Means those applications we can use the case designer.
Frankly said, I never worked in migration project.
Okay.
And also I know the process about migration, but I didn't do any implementation on it. I think the case designer will be should be available for migration project also. The only thing is like UI, right? That is the only part which user has to manually update. That is, developer has to manually go and update on each to have HTML5 and CSS3 option.
Okay.
HTML.
Yeah. I think you can take the control.
I will make you a presenter now. You got the access option, Sisha?
Oh. I think it's able to come. Yeah.
Okay. Can you open on your onboarding process case type? Click on the arrow, navigation. Click on the arrow below here and then open. So this is what we see is like a parent, right? We are telling about this is my parent, and if you want to cover any child object, there is option called coverable work types. So choose your child object over here, child classes.
Here.
Yes, correct. Below, yes, yeah, correct. Drop down, prompt option. Please down arrow, press down arrow.
Yeah.
You can choose what are the process you want to create as a sub-process kind of.
Okay.
So and then once you save, refresh on your case types on from left navigation.
It gets selected, ready.
Click, double click.
And, okay.
And below you have option called add one more.
Okay. Okay. Now I can save it.
Yeah. On left navigation, on case types, you see one arrow button, right? Down arrow on top.
This one?
No, on yes. Refresh case types. Refresh case types. Yeah, that's the option. You see, right? Your complete onboarding, which contains onboarding process and admin services as child services. If you are take an example, onboarding itself having multiple case types, then you can add it like open your onboarding case types and add what are your child objects. That's why we called as like case type covers and nested covers. Shesha? Hello?
Hello, Karthik.
Yeah, Shesha?
Yeah, Shesha.
Okay. So that's why like when complete onboarding is like a parent and below you have onboarding and admin, those are like child of complete onboarding. If you have more child object under onboarding, you can open the onboarding case types, add the child objects.
Okay.
So that's why we can say like it's a nested cover. So cover and then child. So we have multiple covers.
Okay.
So before 6.2 version, I think we have only cover and covered object. Now we have cover and child object.
Okay.
Okay. So let me know if you have any questions. You can post it in the mail and complete your onboarding steps. We can talk more on about the propagations tomorrow and then start about other features in Pega 7 on the flows and other places.
Okay, Karthik.
Yeah. Thanks guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karthik.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karthik.